Welcome back, my friends, to the Mortals. This is the place where we tear down the walls, brick by brick, peeling back the layers of life's most chilling and bone-rattling moments. It is here that nothing is off limits. Life, death, the sinister in between, and those stories that creep into the darkest corners of the unknown. I am Nathan Morris. I'm your guide through tales of near death, the unexplainable, and the transformative terror of loss. Before we dive into today's darkness, I have something special for you. If you're as gripped by these stories as I am, why not wear that shadow on your sleeve? Literally. Check out our Mortals merch right now at nathanmorrismusic.com. We have tees, hoodies, hats, and pants. We have designs that echo the eerie vibes of our tales, my music, Shadowed Souls collection, perfect for late night listens and snuggles. Every purchase supports this podcast and my music, helping us keep tearing down those walls together. Grab yours now. Link is in the description, and be sure to join the Mortals community in style. Speaking of, if you're new here and you haven't hit that follow button yet, you got to beware because rumor has it, if you don't follow the Mortals, you're going to end up at a funeral. You're fumbling to tie a tie that you've never mastered. Picture this. You're standing there, suit half buttoned, tie a tangled mess, asking every mourner in sight, "Hey, can you help me with this?" Their glares, they burn hotter than the summer sun. As you disrupt the somber silence and vibe, you're fumbling with that knot while the procession waits. Don't be that person. Save yourself the embarrassment. Just follow right now and join our Shadowed Souls. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Set a reminder, tie a string around your finger, whatever you got to do to keep the chills coming. Today, we're plunging into two stories that are going to stop you in your tracks. One, a man saw a room that he'd never been in. Another, a woman woke up where no one comes back from. Both were clinically dead. Both returned with stories that silence the science. Let's step into the void. Our first story takes us to a quiet suburb in Ohio, USA. The year is 2014. It's a crisp February morning. It's the kind where the air bites right at your skin and the world feels still, almost too still. Brian Miller, he's a 41-year-old truck driver, and he's starting his day like he does any other day. He's a burly guy, tough as the rigs that he hauls, with a very no-nonsense attitude and a family he'd move mountains for. He's got a wife, he has 2 kids, and a life that's built on hard work. Long hours on the road, late nights at home. But this morning, he sips his coffee in the kitchen, and he eats something off. A tightness creeps into his chest. It's an ache that he just brushes off as indigestion. He has a load to deliver, and there's no time for weakness. But fate, my friends, doesn't wait for convenient timing. By mid-morning, that ache explodes into a searing pain. Brian collapses, clutching his chest, his vision swimming as his wife screams for help. Paramedics come and rush him to a nearby hospital where the diagnosis is grim. A massive heart attack. His heart slips into ventricular fibrillation. It's a deadly arrhythmia where the organ quivers uselessly, unable to pump blood. Machines beep frantically at this point as doctors fight to stabilize him. Paddles shocking his chest, adrenaline coursing through IVs, but it's no use. At 10:47 a.m., Brian's heart flatlines. For 45 minutes, there's nothing. No pulse, no breath, just the hollow hum of a monitor declaring him gone. He's pronounced dead. Nurses prepare to notify his family, draping a sheet over his now still form. The room grows heavy with finality, the kind of silence that swallows hope. But death, as we've learned here at the Mortals, isn't always the end. Something or someone had other plans for Brian Miller. As the staff stepped away, a faint blip pierced the quiet. A heartbeat. Unassisted. Impossible. His heart starts. Doctors freeze, stunned as life claws its way back into his body. And they rush to stabilize him, and what happens next isn't just a medical anomaly, it is a glimpse into something that's beyond the veil, something that even the most hardened trauma staff cannot explain. Brian Miller is about to wake up with a story that will haunt them all. All right, let's sink into this raw impossibility of Brian's situation together. He's clinically dead and has been for 45 minutes. It's February 18th, 2014, in an Ohio hospital. His heart stopped, his brain starved of oxygen, his body is a shell on a gurney. The sheet covers him. Medically, this is death, a death sentence. After just 5 minutes without oxygen, as previous episodes have stated, brain cells begin to die. And after 10 minutes, irreversible damage sets in. So at 45 minutes, survival without severe neurological impairment is unheard of. Doctors had already shifted gears, preparing to break the news to his family. His wife is in the waiting room. She's in a sterile hallway, pacing back and forth. Tears are carving paths down her face. They'd done all they could, defibrillation, CPR, drugs, but nothing worked. Brian was gone, or so they thought. Against every law of science, his heart jolts back to life. No external intervention, no shocks, just a spontaneous rhythm, cutting through the flat line like a whisper. Nurses scramble, monitors flare with activity. Brian is pulled back from the edge. Hours later, he's moved to intensive care, tubes snaking from his body, machines tracking every fragile beat. His family huddles nearby, praying for a miracle they've already half received. But when Brian finally opens his eyes, days later, groggy, weak, it's not just his survival that stuns them, it's what he remembers. What he shouldn't remember. His voice is a rasp, barely above a whisper, as he turns to a nurse. "I saw it," he says, eyes distant, haunted. "I was above myself, looking down. I saw you all working on me, the paddles, the chaos." The nurse nods, chalking it up to a common near-death experience, out-of-body sensations. They're not rare in trauma cases, but Brian isn't done. "Then I drifted," he continues, "down the hall to a room. My mother-in-law was there. She passed 2 years ago, but she was waiting for me. She looked at me, clear as day, and said, 'You have to go back. It's not your time.'" The nurse freezes, her clipboard slightly trembling. Brian's family, listening nearby, exchange uneasy glances. His mother-in-law, who died in that very hospital, had passed in a specific room on the same floor, room 312. Brian describes it in chilling detail. The faded blue curtains, the scuff mark on the wall near the bed, the way the window framed a crooked tree outside. "She stood by that window," he insists, "and pointed me back to my body." Here is the kicker. Room 312 had been closed for maintenance during Brian's entire hospital stay. Locked, inaccessible, with no way for him to have seen inside. Hospital staff confirmed the details that he described hadn't changed since her death 2 years prior. The curtains, the scuff, the tree. No one had mentioned that room to him. He'd never been there. So how did he know? Doctors are baffled. They run tests, CT scans, EEGs, searching for a brain damage that could explain hallucinations, but nothing. Brian's mind is fully intact, sharper than it should be, really, after 45 minutes without oxygen. Cardiologists, they can't explain the spontaneous restart of his heart either. It's like something flipped a switch, one doctor later told a local reporter, voices tinged with unease. "We didn't do that. Something else did." Brian's memory of the room, of his mother-in-law's words, lingers like this shadow that no one can touch. Was that a trick of his dying brain? Was it a fabrication? Or did he in fact cross into a place that we cannot chart? And was he guided by his mother-in-law, by a force that defies our understanding? At the Mortals, we don't shy away from the questions that science can't answer. Brian Miller walked away from death, but he brought something back with him. A glimpse of a room that he should not have seen. Before we dive into the aftermath of Brian's story, I want to tell you about the tool that's been game-changing for me and the Mortals. If you have ever needed a brainstorming partner who never sleeps, then you've got to check out Poppy AI. This isn't just another AI tool. It's like having a creative shadow that helps me unearth. I remember working on this very episode. I was struggling to find the right historical context for Brian's story. I plugged a few keywords into Poppy AI, and within minutes, I dug up obscure medical articles and local news snippets about near-death experiences that I'd never have found on my own. It even helped me craft the haunting hook for today's title, Not Dead Yet. Whether you're crafting a podcast, whether you're writing a story, or you're building a social media presence, Poppy AI streamlines your workflow. It turns rough ideas into polished content, and fast. It's intuitive, it's powerful, and very addictive. Give it a try for free with the trial link that I've linked in the description. Trust me, it's going to spark ideas that you did not even know you had. Back to the show. Brian Miller's return from the brink on that February day in 2014 is a medical marvel that's wrapped in mystery. He spent weeks recovering in the hospital. His body was battered, but mending. Scar tissue on his heart, fatigue that clung like a shadow, but there was no brain damage, no loss of memory or motor skills even. Doctors were calling him a living miracle, a label that he wears with quiet unease. He returned to his family, hugging his kids a little tighter, kissing his wife with a gratitude that words aren't able to capture. But the mental toll is a very different beast, because night after night, he'd wake from dreams of floating above his body, room 312 of his mother-in-law's voice echoing, "It's not your time." He told a local news outlet, Fox 8 in Cleveland, that "I don't fear death anymore, but I fear what I don't understand about it. What else is waiting out there?" His family, they wrestle with the story too. His wife, she's torn between relief and dread. Wonders if he truly did see her mother or something wearing her face. And his kids are too young to grasp the weight. They ask why Grandma wanted Daddy to come back. Brian doesn't have answers, only this lingering sense of purpose that he is unable to name. And since then, he has shifted, cutting back on trucking hours, spending more time at home, as if answering an unspoken call to live a bit differently. The hospital staff, they whisper about his case in break rooms, some half joking about ghosts in room 312, others avoiding the topic altogether. The room itself was reopened months later, but no one lingers there long. This story chills us definitely here at the Mortals, because it's not just about cheating death, it's about brushing against this boundary that we can't map. Because how does a man survive 45 minutes of clinical death with a mind that's untouched? How does he see a room that's sealed off from the living, and he's guided by a voice from the past? Was it his mother-in-law? Was it a guardian from beyond? Or maybe something much deeper, maybe a force that decides who stays, who goes, who knows? Brian Miller lives with a newfound wariness, often staring into the distance as if he's waiting for the mother-in-law's voice to say something again. And it forces us to wonder, are there rooms beyond our sight, thresholds that we cross without knowing, where decisions about our fate are made? Let's hold on to that shiver as we move to our second story. Maybe even a little darker than this one. Our second story is going to drag us to this very sterile hospital, the corridors, the White Memorial Medical Center in Los Angeles, California, in the very sweltering summer of 2010. It is July 26th, and the city is humming with heat and hustle, but inside the hospital, a very different kind of tension brews. Maria de Jesus Arroyo, an 80-year-old grandmother, she's wheeled into the ER, on a gurney. Her frail body is trembling after a sudden cardiac arrest at home. Her family, her children, her grandchildren, they're trailing right behind, and their faces are etched with fear. They're clutching rosaries and they're whispering prayers in Spanish. Maria is the matriarch, obviously, the heart of her clan, and she's known for her quiet strength, her tamales on Sundays, her stories of life hard lived. But right now, her heart has betrayed her, stuttering to a stop as paramedics are fighting to keep her alive. In the trauma bay, doctors swarm, barking orders over the shrill beep of monitors, chest compressions, defibrillator shocks, desperate dances to restart her pulse. But the battle is lost. At 3:14 p.m., Maria is pronounced dead, the matriarch. Her family collapse in grief, sobs echoing down the hall as a nurse gently covers Maria with a sheet. Her body is tagged, paperwork signed, and she's moved to the hospital morgue, a cold, clinical space in the basement where the dead for their final journey. She's placed in a freezer unit, a body bag zipped tight, meant to preserve until funeral arrangements are made. The door seals with a hollow thud, locking Maria's body into darkness. It's a pretty routine procedure, a finality that no one questions, but it is in that frozen silence something unthinkable is about to unfold. Maria de Jesus Arroyo's story isn't over, and what happens next is going to send a chill through even the most hardened medical staff. Let's step into the gut-wrenching terror of Maria de Jesus Arroyo's situation. It is hours after her death was declared on July 26, 2010. In the basement morgue of White Memorial Medical Center, her body lies in a freezer unit. The temperature is hovering near zero. It's common. A body bag encases her body. It's suffocating plastic. The morgue is silent for the hum of the refrigeration. It's a sterile tomb where the living just don't linger for long. Maria's family are upstairs. They're mourning in the waiting area, planning her burial, which funeral home to take her to, unaware that death's grip on the matriarch might not be as final as they believe. What happens next isn't just a medical oversight. It's a nightmare that defies comprehension. Sometime in the early hours of July 27th, the funeral home staff arrived to retrieve Maria's body for preparation. They wheel her out of the freezer, unzip the bag, and freeze. Not from the cold, but from the horror. Her face is bruised, a deep purple blooming across her cheeks. Her nose is broken, twisted at an unnatural angle. Most chillingly, her body is face down in the bag, limbs contorted as if caught mid-struggle. The staff recoil, whispering among themselves. Hearts are pounding. This is not right. Bodies do not move in morgues. They call hospital administrators, who summon a forensic pathologist. The scene is documented, photographed, a grim puzzle unfolding in the fluorescent light. The pathologist's findings are chilling. Maria's injuries, bruises, the broken nose are not from her initial cardiac event or transport to the morgue. They're fresh, and they're consistent with blunt trauma, as if she thrashed against something hard. Her position, face down, suggests movement, a desperate attempt to escape. The theory emerges, cold as the freezer itself. Maria was likely still alive when placed in the morgue. She may have woken up, disoriented, trapped in the body bag, in sub-zero darkness, clawing for freedom as hypothermia claimed her. The pathologist notes no rigor mortis was present in initial morgue logs, no internal bleeding, typical of cardiac arrest victims. Red flags that her death pronouncement was premature. She didn't die from the heart attack. She died from the cold alone in a place meant for the already gone. Hospital staff are shaken. How were her vitals missed? Standard protocol, checking pulse, breath, pupil response, should have caught a flicker of life, yet records show no anomalies, no second checks. A nurse later admitted to a local reporter, "We thought she was gone. We all did. But what if we were wrong? What if she felt everything?" The morgue logs are scoured, cameras reviewed, but there's no footage inside the freezer, no witness to her final moments. Maria's family, when told, they're shattered. Grief is morphing into rage. Did she suffer? Trapped? Unheard? Was her death a mistake? At the Mortals, we linger in this horror because it's not just about negligence. It's about this thin, fragile line between life and death, and what happens when we cross it too soon. Before we explore the aftermath of Maria's tragic story, I want to share a tool that's been invaluable for crafting episodes here at the Mortals. If you have ever dreamed of starting your own podcast or creating content that sounds professional without all the fancy studio setup, all the mics and cameras, just check out Descript. It is this all-in-one audio video editing platform, entirely online. There is no expensive gear required. I use it for every single one of these episodes, and I want to tell you about a particular moment. So I was recording this story about Maria. I flubbed about 15 lines. I stumbled over the hospital name, White Memorial. I was ready to re-record the whole thing, but with Descript's AI-powered voice cloning, I just typed the correction, and it fixed my voice seamlessly, and you never noticed it. It also lets me cut awkward pauses, polish my stories with simple clicks, which save me hours, so I can focus on connecting with you through these stories. So whether you're a creator or you just want to share your own stories, give it a try for free at get.descript.com/themortals. That is get.descript.com/mortals. Link is in the description. You'll wonder how you ever got by without it. Maria de Jesus Arroyo's story did not end with her second tragic death in that freezer on July 27th, 2010. Her family, fueled by anguish, they filed a lawsuit against White Memorial Medical Center, alleged negligence and wrongful death. And court records reported by the Los Angeles Times, they detailed their claim. Maria was misdiagnosed as deceased, denied a chance at revival, and subjected to a horrifying end. The hospital settled out of court, a quiet admission of fault, though no public apology was ever issued. And this case sparked industry-wide debate, with medical journals citing it as this grim reminder to refine how death is actually pronounced. Protocols were tightened, double checks, longer observation periods, but the scar remains. Maria's grandchildren, they still wake from nightmares of her trapped, banging on these icy walls that no one could hear. Her family, they buried her days later. A somber service where whispers of, "What if?" they hung heavier in the air than the incense at the church. They placed her favorite rosary in her hands as if to guard her from further harm in whatever realm she now rests. Physically, her body bore the marks of her struggle, bruises, like a map of desperation. Mentally, the toll on her loved ones is a wound that festers. Her daughter told a reporter that, "I can't sleep knowing she might have called for us. We failed her." The hospital morgue, meanwhile, it became a place of hushed dread among staff, some refusing shifts there, half expecting to hear echoes of a struggle in the silence. This story grips us because it's forcing us to confront our trust in the systems that define death. How does a woman wake in a morgue freezer, declared gone by those that were meant to save her? Was this mere error? Was it a tragic oversight? Or does it hint at something deeper? Maybe life's stubborn refusal to be boxed by our definition. Maria de Jesus Arroyo's final moments are a void that we cannot fill, a scream that we can't hear. And it leaves us questioning. Are there others lost in the cold whose last breaths went unnoticed? What lies on the edge of death that we're too quick to label final? Let's carry that unease as we wrap up today's episode with some final thoughts. Brian Miller, Maria de Jesus Arroyo, two souls who slipped through death's grasp, one returning with a vision of the impossible, the other lost to a horror that I don't think any of us can fathom. Their stories aren't just about survival or tragedy. They're about the unseen threads that bind life to whatever it is that comes next. Sometimes the unexplainable isn't a mystery to solve, but a shiver to feel, a reminder that our understanding of death is as fragile as the heartbeat that defines life. Brian, he saw a room beyond his reach, guided by a voice from the past. Maria may have woken in a frozen tomb, her struggle a silent plea against a verdict too soon. And both force us to ask, what decides when it's our time? Is there a purpose, a force, a glitch in the veil that lets some slip back or traps others in between? If you have ever experienced something unexplainable in your death moment, a mysterious intervention, maybe a loss that haunts you, I want to hear from you. Join the Mortals community. It's a space for deeper conversation, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and a chance to connect with others and yours truly, those who feel the chill of these stories just like you. When you become a member, you get early access to episodes, bonus content, music, other stuff, long before anybody hears it, sees it, maybe will ever, and a direct line to share your own experiences. Just give it a check out, if you will. Link is in the description, or visit nathanmorrismusic.com/supporters to join. Your story might be the one that we tell next. And remember, new episodes, they drop every Tuesday and Thursday, so do not miss a single tale. I appreciate you listening to The Mortals, where the walls come down, the mysteries, they stay unsolved, and sometimes the answers only lead to darker questions. I like it that way. Until next time, take care of yourselves. You're loved far more than you could ever know.